Find an equation to represent the current salary S after X years of employment if the starting salary, and that's an initial amount here, of an employee is $35,000 with an annual increase, that sounds like an average rate of change, of $3,000. Assume a person will retire after 25 years of service. When you write up the equation, you're thinking of the model y equals mx plus b. But we're going to use the letters that are suggested in the problem. So our output is our salary, S, equals the slope, or the average rate of change, our increase, $3,000 annually. So 3,000 times X, because X was a number of years of employment, plus our initial amount, $35,000. So that's our starting equation. State the independent and dependent variables. Remember, variable is a letter, so we're looking for either an S or an X, because those are the only letters we have in this problem. So the independent variable is the input variable. So our independent variable is going to be represented by X. The dependent variable, our output, is what comes out, which is the S. So remember, independent is input, dependent is what comes out, in this case S. What would the domain for this function be? All right, think about domain as your X values in this case. What's the smallest number for X and what's the biggest number for X? Remember, X represented the number of years of employment. So we can't have a negative number of years. Our initial number of years will start with 0. You walk in the door, you're going to be offered $35,000. And then you're going to retire at 25 years of service. So that's your ending year, 25. All right, so the domain, remember, were your X values. And so we were thinking, what's your first year, your initial amount, or your initial year, rather, which would be 0 years, all the way up to year 25. Okay, so what would the range of the function be? The range would be your salary. So we're looking at the smallest salary that you could get to the highest salary you could get. Well, your lowest salary isn't going to be $0. You're not working for free here. Your initial salary was $35,000. So that's going to be your first amount, $35,000. You're not going to get infinitely amount of money here, an infinite amount of money. There's going to be a cap because you can only work to year 25. So the question is, well, if you can only work to the year 25, how much would you be making at year 25? So we're going to take our formula for salary and then compute, using our formula from part A, what we would be making. So plug in 25, our yearly, the number of years that we would work, $3,000 increase each year, plus our initial amount. And what you come out with is $110,000. So our range is going to go from $35,000 to $110,000. For this last, well, for the next part rather, they want to know how much will you be making if you work for the company for 19 years. So we go back to our formula, S equals, we get a $3,000 bump in salary each year for 19 years, plus our initial amount, and then compute that out. So I believe that's $92,000. how many years would you have to work to earn a salary of $80,000? So now we're looking for X in our equation, and we're given the S. So 80,000 equals our 3,000 X plus 35,000. I know my number is going to be less than 19 because at 19 years I was making 92,000. So it's got to be less. My X is going to have to be less than 19 years. So to solve it, we're not just going to guess and test, but we're actually going to solve for X. We're going to use a subtraction property first. Notice we're leaving the X term by itself, moving everybody over to the other side by addition and subtraction first, if possible. Then we would do our division step. So this comes out to 45,000 equals 3,000x, and divide by 3,000. We're dividing here because it's hooked to the x by multiplication, and you're always doing sort of the opposite operation. So when you do that division, you come up with x equals 15. And now you have to put a unit label on it. Notice I put the dollar symbol on for letter E because we were looking for a salary. So for this one, we're looking for how many years. So make sure that you also write in the unit label 15 years.